Welcome back. No matter how much planning you do, life sometimes seems to have, some other results in mind, doesn't it? And how well we piece together the puzzles life hands us is often the measure of our success.
Well, one artist working in Lindon rolled with life's curveballs and found himself living a life he never could have predicted.
I wanted to be a professional basketball player, but it didn't work out. I couldn't jump, shoot, or dribble, really, and so, yeah, it was close.
Art.
I like the process of creating.
To Eric Dowdle, creating involves research. It involves meticulous planning.
My goal is to tell a complete story.
His finished pieces may turn out just how he'd envisioned, but that's rarely the case with life.
When it came to art in high school, that's what I did between seasons.
As the years passed, his ideas about art began to change.
Realism was where it's at. To my parents, if it didn't look like a photo, it wasn't a painting.
So one thing he never thought he'd end up doing was this, folk art.
I used to think folk artists actually did folk art because they couldn't paint. I'm like, poor guy. It's not very good.
But preconceptions were made to be painted over, and now a folk artist is exactly what Eric is.
I've had people like, yeah, it's not folk art. Folk art, to me, by definition, is the relationship between people and their environment.
He paints those people and those environments in places all across the world.
It just allows you a lot of freedom to tell a bigger story.
Liberating creatively, but even starving artists have to eat.
Just start going for it, you pay your bills.
And one medium in particular seemed to fit together with his form of art like a puzzle.
Folk art, I learned, is the best venue for a puzzle because there's so much going on.
Eric found that corner piece and the jigsaw of his life began to take shape.
People be, yeah, puzzle guy, puzzles, and nobody goes to art school going, someday I'm gonna be that guy.
Puzzles are his passion.
If I didn't like puzzles, this would be terrible.
And his collection continues to grow.
We're up to 200 titles in puzzles, right? 200 titles and puzzles.
You can't argue with success.
How did that happen?
Eric sold millions of these puzzles worldwide.
The discriminating puzzle buyer.
And he's now expanding his art into more elaborate three-dimensional forms.
14 layers thick.
This isn't just a small art studio.
That's where your eye goes.
It's big business.
Those lines across.
And while they still have fun,
The only problem is I'm extremely critical.
to Eric,
The whites aren't strong enough.
these aren't just pieces of art.
Needs a little bit in there.
They're his children.
We got to add something. I don't know what we're going to add to it, but
He may be known as the puzzle guy,
yeah,
and he may be running a business,
those are just some small critiques.
but he never lost that artist's passion.
Sorry, a little quality control.
Life is more like a puzzle than a painting.
As much as I want to paint that amazing landscape, just not what I'm going to do.
It's not the NBA. These aren't realistic landscapes, and you won't find any of his puzzles in a museum. But Eric takes pleasure in knowing people appreciate his artwork.
You'll spend 4 to 5 hours staring at the art, and it really, people start to recognize it, understand it, see the creative side. They'll study it far more than they will anything on the wall.
All of Eric's products are made here in the U.S., and he plans to move his main puzzle factory to Utah from its current home in Indiana. And get this, his success has even earned him his own TV show. It's called Painting the Town, how appropriate, with Eric Dowdle, airing nationwide on PBS.
Very cool.